Well, hello, everyone. While Derek's getting his cigar lit, welcome to another Schlender 5 production of Decadent. Today, we have a very special movie in mind for you. As you can see, it's very festive and Christmassy out, and we watched a cozy mystery. Some might say the coziest mystery to come out in 2025. No, I'm not talking about the Thursday Murder Club. I'm talking about Wake Up, Dead Man by controversial auteur Rian Johnson. This is the third movie in the Knives Out trilogy. Will there be a fourth? Stay tuned.
I would guess yes.
Yes, I would guess as well, because honestly, these movies are kind of fun.
I don't know. I think the first one probably, in terms of enjoyment, I got the most enjoyment out of the first one. But again, the mystery in that one, there's really no detective work in it. It's like supposition, and then literally like a clue gets dropped at his feet by the dog. So it's not really like. And Rian Johnson purposely withholds information as if like the reveal of it is somehow going to be clever, but it's not, you know, because oftentimes the reveals have a fair amount more misdirection in them, or at least I would think that. But now I'm starting to think Benoit just is incompetent. He's just like jumping at things, and he does whatever the plot tells him to do. And he's not my favorite detective. I don't find him particularly interesting.
I like Daniel Craig's interpretation of him. I like his affectations, his voice, his mannerisms, his costume, and stuff like that. Like, he does kind of have that cozy mystery detective vibe. For those of you who didn't watch Derek's spoiler-free review, you can find it in the
It wasn't really a spoiler-free review. It was more so a throwdown challenge
to get me on. Yes,
yeah,
where he
exactly
specifically called out my love of Agatha Christie, which is true. I have read most of Agatha Christie. But before, I guess we should start. So let's start broadly, and we'll start narrowing down. So you had mentioned that you didn't care for the other Knives Out mysteries. Honestly, I did not like the first one a lot.
I prefer the first one to the second one.
Well, here's the thing with Glass Onion being the second one. The first one's just called Knives Out. The second one's called Glass Onion. Glass Onion, I enjoyed on subsequent rewatches because I think it looks really good, and I had a lot of fun with that cast. Now, the actual murder mystery part of it, I do hate how he pulls the rug out from under you, because the first
like
time
40 minutes into it or whatever, and he does it. It's the end of the first act.
And I watched it in the context of having just watched Last of Sheila, which is another kind of cozy murder mystery that does a really good job of laying out the clues and letting you figure it out, which I did at the time. Maynard Banks will vouch for this. And so then when we went to Glass Onion, I was putting some of the clues together. I'm like, okay, some of this is making it, and wham, they hit you with the twin. I'm like, oh, I didn't even have a shot, you know? But,
well, the other thing, too, that I don't like about Glass Onion, and this is kind of like, you know, you're only as good as your last thing, so your expectation going into this movie, which is why we bring it up, is when you did the flashback sequences, and it turns out that some characters were in those scenes just off camera. I'm like, no, they weren't. You know, I hate when you do that, like, oh, let's revisit these events, but from different angles so you can see what actually happened. I don't like that. I think that's lazy. I think it's cheap.
Is that in regards to Glass Onion or
Glass
Wake Up Dead Man?
Onion.
Oh, Glass Onion, yes.
Because in Wake
yes.
Up Dead Man, to the movie's credit, I think it learned its lesson, and it took a lot of the criticisms from Glass Onion.
Not a lot of cheats in it, if any, to be honest with you. And if they were, they'd be inconsequential. I think I read...
think there's a few big cheats I don't like.
Well, I read once that, going into spoiler territory already, why not? There's a big spoiler warning right here.
It's everything's spoilers.
One of the things that was recorded, the guy who was recording it, when we saw it in real time, he didn't have his phone up, I guess, but to me, that's not much of a cheat, because like I said, I figured out about 90% of this movie pretty much right off the jump, actually, because zooming out on a meta level, when it comes to these movies and books too, the murderer, the detective, all of them are only as smart as the people writing it. And Rian Johnson's not particularly as smart or as clever as he thinks he is. And no offense, too, because, again, I love the way his movies look. I think he is really good at putting together a film. I think he comes up with some interesting character ideas. But ultimately, when he's going to have stand-ins for himself, he doesn't have the intellectual courage to make them the actual murderer. So I was able to write off the first priest right off the gate, even though... And I'll give Johnson some credit for this. When the movie starts, the young priest, he's writing notes for Benoit Blanc. And the first thing I thought of immediately when that happened, I said, oh my God, that's exactly like the murder of Roger Ackroyd, which is then referenced later in the movie. And I was like, oh, but Ryan's not going to make this priest the murderer, because spoilers for the murder of Roger Ackroyd, you're reading, and that's by Agatha Christie featuring her famous detective Hercule Poirot. That story is written from the perspective of a doctor who is assisting Hercule Poirot on the murder of Roger Ackroyd.
Right.
And you are reading his case notes.
Yep.
The whole thing is a narrative from that one guy's perspective. And then here's the twist. Turns out he's the murderer. So his notes are leaving out obviously key details. But none of it's a cheat and it all works. And then the end is his confession where he mentions the things he left out. Also interesting, the murder of Roger Ackroyd is a locked door mystery, just like
this locked door mystery to me is already where things start to fall apart a little bit.
I disagree because I've read quite a few locked door mysteries, but what's your take?
All right, so the locked door mystery, right? There are so many components to how they peel it back like an onion. It's got a layer of Benoit Blanc, right? So one of the first early clues that they get, right, and I'm talking just evidence, is the RF burst that disrupts a cell phone recording. That's not how it works. We could use an automatic garage door opener. It would not an RF burst do, like, it wouldn't shake the screen on like a very modern iPhone, all right? So they use that already. So that piece of evidence, I'm like, I don't even see why it's necessary, you know, like, doesn't matter. I don't care for it.
Well, they didn't see the RF burst on the phone. They saw it on the videotape, the analog videotape, and they were comparing that to what happened on the phone.
I thought, all right, so that was time-stamped.
Correct.
So, okay, that makes more sense because for some reason in my mind, I was like, why did the phone have an RF burst? All right, so they did the timestamp.
On the analog VHS
but then
versus the...
but that was no. Because wasn't that then meant to show that like he couldn't have like done the RF burst at that time, but there was evidence of an RF burst, but they didn't match up timelines because it ends up being an RF burst anyway.
Yes, it is an RF burst, but the way they prove it at first is because the groundskeeper was videotaping the baseball game, football game.
Right.
Yeah, and that on the tape, they found that RF burst, and when they synced up the priest walking into the room with the RF burst on the tape, they're like, okay, that's when the RF burst happened. And the reason they showed it that way is
because he had already fallen, so it was to negate the gun robot.
Correct. So
they do pick up the RF burst.
It disabuses you of the RF burst is what killed him.
Right.
Because he collapses beforehand.
Because he collapses before it. But it is the RF burst that
also doesn't absolve the young priest. It was Judd. Judd is his name? It doesn't absolve him because he's walking towards it, and obviously he could have palmed it or something if he were to have pushed
and it turns out that RF burst was used specifically to set off a blood capsule that was hidden under a wolf head that he took from the pub. And this wolf head for me is this wolf devil head. I hate it. I hate it as a plot device.
I agree.
Him lazily throwing it and it going far enough into the church and Glenn Close taking it and them having the wherewithal to paint it red and then also somehow steal the second wolf head from the bar without anybody noticing.
God, that was
what is that?
That was just too much too. It's like, oh, this wolf head, because they were already planning the murder, and it's like, oh, great, now we've got this wolf head to do it, and it's just like you don't. What kills me is like you don't need it.
You don't need
for this plot to work.
No, you really don't need it, and so it's just one of those. And then Benoit's like, look, and they're like, oh, it's the same briefcase. The doctor must be here. Okay, like nobody's like, hey, hell, oh, by the way, we're asking about this wolf head. Hey, by the way, my second one's missing.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, oh, because you can't do that, because as much as that conversation would naturally happen, it gives too much of the game away. 2 wolf's heads. So that, I don't care for that.
And it is funny, too, because the bartender did mention that he had them in doubles before. And yeah, you think like when they were showing him, he's like, oh yeah, it's just like that one. And then they'd look and it's not there, you know? But, like, you're always going to have slight contrivances like that, unfortunately, in these kind of movies.
But it's unnecessary.
Oh, I agree.
So, and if you're going to write it in, then it needs to be brought up. Because
what was the original murder plot before the wolf's head entered the equation?
Immaterial.
Yeah, it's how are you going to, to frame it, And that is always one of the solutions to the locked door mystery is that the person's not actually dead and the first person who finds them is the murderer.
Yeah.
Or the person is dead in a different way and they get staged differently. Another Agatha Christie novel that's not brought up in this one I think it's called Murder in Cairo, something to that effect.
Maybe.
And that is another, it's not quite a locked door mystery, but it is one where the guy who finds the body, it turns out he's the murderer because he restages the scene.
So when Benoit is talking about there are 4 ways locked door murders goes, and he stops at 3, and then a criminally underutilized Mila Kunis.
Yeah, right? I do wonder why they even cast it. Like, it seemed like she would have a bigger part.
That whole cast is wasted on this. It's an excellent cast, and these are all good actors, and like they get very little to do. So, quick tangent before I get back to my issue with like the criminally underrated thing. This to me would have worked better, right? This story, I would be a lot more forgiving of it if it was like a stage play and it all took place inside the church, right? And so you have everybody in the church, and you're just kind of doing like the one scene. Benoit's looking at things. He's kind of piecing it together. All your evidence then is still in the one spot. Because the passage of time afterwards, like when it must have been Glenn Close, right, who broke into the priest's thing to find the poison flask, right, Judd's room to steal the flask. That flask then kind of disappears from the script as necessary until the end, where they're like, oh, by the way, there was one, but now it's missing.
Yeah. Well, and what's interesting too is like, and that's kind of where Judd becomes an unreliable narrator, is that he doesn't mention the flask, and he explicitly says to Benoit Blanc, is like, you just omit the untrue parts, and that's like in the Murder of Roger Ackroyd. That's basically what it is. You know, where
that scene where Benoit's like, what made you think you could lie? And he's like, I don't know why I thought I could hide it from you. And you're like, okay, what is this? Because it's obviously not going to be a huge reveal. Yeah, you know what I mean? And then, God, what was I talking about with the Mila Kunis thing? Now you got me talking about these other plot structures that I disliked.
Oh yeah, well, unfortunately, we do get a little over the map here on
maybe
these Decadents.
Maybe it'll come back to me. But the then the issue I had with, oh God, what was it? So we were doing I've really lost my train of thought here.
Yeah, you were saying it was a criminally underused Mila Kunis, and like the way she was calling out the
Benoit, yes. So when she's like, you forgot the 4th one, where the guy who finds the body in the locked room is the killer, and he's like, and she's like, and you knew it the whole time, and he's like, yes, I did, blah blah, Benoit Blanc, but he's not the killer, so you didn't know it the whole time. His lack of sharing information just so he can like try and like coax more cooperation out of Judd is like, well, if you either have the path where he believes Judd's the killer, which I think was already pretty much laid to bed at this point, right? But in Benoit's mind, right? Yes. So this is the second time in the narrative, though, that they've tried to now hang it on Judd or something nefarious on Judd. And when you have that, I roll my eyes because I know the movie doesn't have the stones to do it. If it turned out that, oh, wait, that is what Judd did, right? Okay, cool. Much more interesting story. You almost have like a primal fear.
I knew that wasn't going to be the case because Judd was too much of a stand-in for Johnson.
Yeah, of course not.
But here's the thing, though. You do have that a lot in detective fiction where the detective thinks they have enough of the clues put together, but they don't reveal their hand yet. And it can be frustrating. Like, you'll read a Hercule Poirot novel where he basically figured out on day 1, and now it's a matter of proving it. And here's the thing. Usually there's not a lot of evidence, and so all of these cozy mysteries are really wrapped up by them accusing and then the accused admitting. Then killing themselves too.
Well, so my problem is we're 40 minutes into the movie before Benoit comes in, right? Shortly after that, he's like, what made you think you could hide from this? So here's your first, like another big accusation against, Judd, right? It's not that much later in the movie where she's like, you forgot to talk about the 4th thing where the guy who finds him, right? So in terms of pacing, I just think that we had too many, like, it's Judd again.
All right. You know what I will tell you people out there is this movie is much better to think about after you're done watching, because it is 2.5 hours long. It does not need to be
2.5 hours.
It does not need to be 2.5 hours long, and all the interesting stuff you'll talk about in the movie would work easily in an hour and a half. I mean, it could have been an episode. I
actually did say so in my my like little call to arms to like
call you out. And it's true because it's just like there's just not enough here to really justify why it's
40
so
minutes
long.
in Psych and 40 minutes in Monk could have told this story much better, would have had infinitely more character from our supporting characters. So let me ask you, why does the town doctor have a vat of acid in his basement?
Well, I imagine he was able to procure that because that was going to be part of the plan to dispose of the body, I guess. I don't know.
It was completely unnecessary for them to do the put him in the acid. You know why? Because Glenn Close already poisoned him. Poisoning him leaving the body of the priest there. It looks like he died of a guilty conscience and took his own life before he could dispose of the priest's body.
No, that doesn't work because remember, Glenn Close wanted everyone to think that the priest did rise.
Right.
So
but he's already on film walking away at that point.
Yeah, but so having him go there and look like he killed the doctor, like so for like holy vengeance, is more fitting with the narrative she was trying to weave as opposed to just his body.
So her way to honor him is to have him rise from the dead on Easter to commit murder?
It's not about honoring him because she already lost respect for him.
Yeah, I know, but
it's about restoring faith in the church.
But how is it going to restore faith in the church if your first resurrection in years is so he can commit murder? This isn't like Alvin from C-Lab 2020. He killed that guy, yeah, for revenge.
Yeah, but that's
not
one of the things they're talking about in this movie, though, is about this idea. Kind of like the spiritual warfare idea, which is another thing that we'll have to get into some of the religious commentary that Johnson thought he was making.
It's bad.
So in her mind, him coming to punish someone who was wicked, i.e. the doctor, makes total sense.
All right. I just, that was too complicated for that.
Well, here's one of the things. So basically, as soon as the movie gets going, and they mention the fortune and all this stuff like this.
Yeah.
And it becomes painfully obvious that the only person who could be the murderer is Glenn Close and Sam. Because they're like, everyone has motive, but none of them have means or opportunity. You get absolutely no means or opportunity for any of the other quote unquote suspects as the movie goes on. So I was immediately laser focused on Glenn Close and Sam. And it was and then you figured they had to have a Confederate. And frankly, any one of the other parishioners would have done, like, that's kind of the thing is like the doctor works. And here's another thing, think about Roger Ackroyd, because the guy who's telling the story is a doctor.
Right.
So when he went in and found the priest in the locked room, that's how I knew he was the Confederate. And I was like, okay, who's going to be the first person to touch the body?
First person to touch the body, of course.
And it was him. And then when he closes the coffin, and when Sam's building the coffin, so here's the thing. I figured out very early that Glenn Close and Sam were after the treasure because the treasure was in the tomb somehow. Now, their reasons for getting it was immaterial, whether it was because they wanted it for themselves. Sam
wasn't actually after it until Glenn Close cued him in later.
Yeah, well, because he
didn't
said
know
they'll
about
do
it.
anything for it. Yeah, but that's the thing. Like, but you knew they were working together, whether Glenn Close was the mastermind or was 50-50.
Well, they were
immaterial as you put
the
story together.
They were a couple.
Yeah, exactly. So I figured that out right away. It's like, okay, the whole point is to get into the crypt because that's where the treasure is somehow, and obviously that ended up being the case. And then, of course, then you have the Confederate betray them because you always have...
You have to have a double cross?
You always have a pile on... Well, not necessarily even double cross in some of these. In this case, yes, it was a double cross, but usually it is just like, you always... What would have been more interesting, and you usually see in Agatha Christie books, is someone figures it out and they get murdered before they could tell someone that they figured it out, or there is like a double cross. Yeah. So like, I'll give Johnson credit. He didn't overextend as far as the genre goes.
No.
Like, if you just distill the mystery elements of this, it all does work for the genre, which I really appreciate.
And I think one of the things about this, which I also said in my spoiler free, is this one feels a lot more earnest than the other ones.
Yeah,
like this one
agree.
really, like, I may not like a lot of it just from like in terms of like, because like I've said a couple times, like Monk did it, like what I mean. So 2.5 hours is a lot to ask me to, like I could watch many episodes of Monk, and
yeah, it's so true.
2.5 hours,
and you can watch
episodes.
You can watch a locked murder room episode of Monk where a monkey is suspected of killing a guy.
No, there's a
you
lot
can
of good
watch
stuff.
where the first person encounters the body is actually the murderer. That's the remember the one where they frame Stottlemyre?
This one is a lot less relying on like goofball antics and
I agree.
Coincidental happenstance that some of the other ones. There's a few things, of course, that are omitted, which are frustrating, simply because I don't know. It's just not my favorite style of writing to omit things. I like when you put the pieces to the puzzle. I like when the audience has the puzzle pieces,
And I thought we had enough, and some of the omissions were because of Judd being an unreliable narrator.
Well, I like we were talking about the thing with the two lamps that should have come up sooner, because honestly, it doesn't change our narrative.
I wish
the audience. It doesn't.
I wish
change
I could just cut that whole thing. It's like you don't need it.
We don't need it.
You fall, and then here's the other thing too. It's a locked room mystery. The priest dies. You're not doing an autopsy. You're not doing toxicology. You're not seeing that like he was paralyzed and stuff.
Well, they showed the stab wound and they probably gave up there. But you always run You always do like the
For
blood
an
gas.
unsolved mystery
Yes.
like this, of course you're
Yeah,
going
I know.
to.
All those things
you
are just
know,
completely unnecessary.
Yeah, that was the thing too. It's like,
Which is why, in my opinion, it would have worked better as a stage play where you keep everybody in there, because once you start dealing with the passage of time, that's where your plot holes start coming up.
mhm.
You keep everything in there and you kind of do like, if it had been like a one-room thing, you cut this thing down to a tight 90 minutes, it's everybody in the church. First of all, I think visually, it's your best set. Stick
Mhm.
with your best set. You can light it all sorts of different ways. You can make it as dramatic as you want. You keep all your characters there, and then you kind of get to like interact with them more. Because you know what I also don't like? The introduction of every character through massive exposition dump through the letters. I think that's very lazy. Because how much of their personality, when do we really get to see a lot of their personality? It's in the scenes later on.
Well, you know what the thing is too? Is like you had trouble feeling their impact, not only on the community, but the world at large, right?
Yeah.
So they said like the young guy was like really into politics and like an influencer. And like,
trying to be like an alt-right guy.
yeah, and it just didn't, you
Lands
couldn't
as a
really
dud.
feel the impact of it. And then when it's revealed that the Monsignor was going to leave the church to pursue politics, it's like, okay, I get, it's like it was.
But
I guess
Dylan,
it's just a bit of a
remember, he
red herring.
sits down and says, I have envied the power and wealth of other men. He says so at the beginning, where he's kind of like, dicking around with Judd and stuff like that, but like, there's truth in it. But it's just, so a lot of it is just unnecessary and it pads the runtime, and I don't think it adds a lot. Now, the big thing for me that really made me roll my eyes when figuring out Glenn Close was attached to it.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember what she does to draw everyone's attention?
Well, when she knocks over the cross?
She knocks over the cross.
Yeah.
It's like everything we've known about this character, she would not do that, right? She would not defile any part of the church, because one of her big introductory things is talking about the mom defiling the church, right? So the moment she knocks the cross over, I'm like, okay, well, there's her big distraction because she's in on it. She would never harm the church in that way, especially based on the flashback of the daughter destroying the church and what an impact that had on her, which we then find out is also for a secondary reason, but still.
I had a little suspicion in my mind. It was just like a little niggling suspicion that wouldn't it be neat if Glenn Close was actually the mom, like she was like she wasn't the kid observing, she was actually like the floozy. I'm like that could work. It doesn't make a lot of sense.
No.
But that's the thing too with Rian Johnson. It's like, yeah, but I could see him maybe doing that. But I gave up on that. That was a little thread I pulled, and I'm like, nah, that's not going to go anywhere.
They did the secret child pull later, but it was a little more earned, right? With the influencer being the son of Josh Brolin, right? A little more earned, because he's set up as a mystery thing, and everybody's having the sister raise him, and it's set up enough where I'm like, okay, because none of these characters are going to get deeper than the exposition we get set at the beginning.
Yeah, exactly. And it's important to keep compounding that Josh Brolin's not a good guy.
Yeah,
and that
that the church is not a great thing.
And that I don't think it's as severe on the church as he probably wanted to be.
Benoit says some pretty harsh things. He speaks with the voice of the director and writer.
He does, but so does Judd to a point.
Yeah,
but
they filmed Judd in light as he's talking about the good things of the.
And
it's on the nose.
Again, though, the problem is that you can only be as smart as the guy writing it, and I don't think Rian Johnson's that he's conflating a lot of broader Christianity and Catholicism together. And there is a smidge of that in the modern climate. We're recording this a few days before Christmas in 2025. You do have the Catholic integralists out there, the post-liberal movement, and a lot of that steeps itself in Catholicism. And I think he's trying to address some of that, but he doesn't have the language to do it. Now, here's a good mental exercise for all you out there who are trying to get engaged in these kind of things. You need to be able to explain your opponent's position to them in such a way that they would say, yes, that's my position. And I don't think Rian Johnson is intellectually capable of doing that. And the first tell, in my opinion, was when Judd was in front of that triumvirative of other priests, and the one priest says, we need fighters, but you need to go out and fight the world. And he goes, oh, I don't agree with that. You don't want to fight the world. Jesus was sent here to heal the world. Well, no, Jesus was sent here to save us.
Yes.
We are not, if you're especially if you're Catholic, we are not of this world. We are in this world. And if you read Ephesians 6:12, it's like we wrestle not with flesh and blood, we wrestle against the powers and principalities of this world. So that one priest is, yes, we are fighting against elements of this world, and that's ultimately how you would say it. And again, that's if you're Catholic, that's if you're Christian, that's if what you believe. And just you see this in so much modern media. We saw it too with like what was not the convent, the quorum. What is it with Ralph Fiennes?
Conclave.
The Conclave, yeah.
One of the worst movies I've seen in a long time.
Where you have these directors,
actors, terrible movie,
and they're like, wouldn't it be great if the Catholic Church was all these things that aren't Catholic? You know what I mean?
What if it was a CW high school?
Yeah, and that's kind of what Johnson's like. Oh, like wouldn't Christianity be great if it was all these things that have nothing to do with Christianity? It's like, well, no, then it would just be like every other institution out there. Like there are going to be elements of it that you need to accept that you don't necessarily agree with, and
a lot of the messaging
like I
this
said,
was heavy-handed too, though.
Yeah, and he can't explain that in a way that would be convincing to believers, just like Conclave. Like it was not. I've talked to a lot of Catholic friends about Conclave, and it's just like, yeah, like it's an interesting drama, but like as far as like digging into Catholicism, there's not a lot of meat on the bone. Well, and I think that's the problem is that if Johnson went out there and saying, look, I just wanted to make an interesting murder mystery with all this religious stuff as a backdrop, but he's been so explicit about how he wanted this to be a commentary. And it's like, well, okay, if I'm going to take you seriously as a commentator, make some serious commentary, and he's just not equipped to do it. It's
very shallow stuff. Again, he also does he takes the shallow hits too, because, and I think and it feels to me people feel they have the ability to go after religion because it's seen as kind of more of like a conservative value, which is why a lot of times when you're taking shots at the church, you're also taking shots at people who are conservative leaning, i.e. the son / political guy. He just rattles off this thing. It's like, yeah, this is what Republicans stand for. And he just does like this very superficial, like clickbaity list that you would see Vice write or something like that.
Oh, of course.
And it's like, it makes me want to roll my eyes because your characters become less interesting the more you set them up as straw men or just like one-dimensional characters. I should be invested in who did it and why. But when you take a look at this cast, right, it's so obvious who your killers are immediately.
And it's so redolent too. Like he tried to do the same thing in Knives Out. Like the one guy was like the alt-right kid on the stuff. Yeah. And it's like, and like, here's the thing, like, dude, like Rian Johnson, it's 2025, you're in Hollywood. Everyone thinks like you. You know what I mean? It's like, like you're not saying anything that
you're not saying anything.
Like your audience already believes all this stuff. Or if they don't, you're not doing a good job of convincing them. And again, that's because that's what he said he wanted to do. Yeah. Just say, hey, I want to make a cool murder mystery that takes place in this neat church, It's
I said, like I constantly say, I'm not trying to rewrite the movie. I'm trying to use what you've given me, how I would tighten it up. Because like I said, I really do think this was a much more honest and earnest attempt to tell the type of story that he's received a lot of criticism on. And like I said, I may not enjoy it as much as the first one, because I kind of enjoyed the first one, even though it's kind of like dumb fun, but it's very stylish and I was okay with it. This one definitely feels like a step in the right direction.
I agree with the proviso that I did like Glass Onion more than Knives Out on subsequent rewatches.
I do not like that movie. It's so stupid, it's smart. No, it's just dumb or whatever. It's like, shut up. Stop talking, everybody. And why do you have these great like actors and you don't do anything with them? You're interested in like 4 characters. So just do your 4-character show. Like,
you need a bevy of suspects.
Yeah, but they're not, if you, Monk and Psych do like, better jobs fleshing out the secondary characters.
There were not a lot of red herrings in this, though.
No, it's
which is kind of funny. Like, it's remarkably straightforward.
But that's why I said that's why I was so disappointed when they went back to Judd the second time. It's like if he's not the killer, then you're just kind of wasting my time doing the same sequence of events, but with a different piece of evidence, which I get happens. I've read those what is it, the Castle books.
Yeah. Well, you know what would have been interesting? Instead of trying to reframe it that Judd was the killer, they should have reframed it as he knew who the killer was.
Right.
Like that would have been more effective and more in keeping with this genre. But then unfortunately it means you need to either kill Judd or he needs to be missing for a long time towards the end of the movie.
Why didn't they just kill Judd in the woods? Problem solved.
Well, you do. Well, yeah, I know. It's like, why did the doctor try to frame Judd for killing Sam?
Watch out, I don't want you crushing cords.
What? Oh, sorry. Yeah, I mean, Yeah, there's a few things that just, I guess like you can only think about these things so hard. Like even like the best like Agatha Christie books always have some element of
Right.
problems with them. Like there was a great one that I read where I wish I could remember the name, but this woman wants to hire Hercule Poirot to be her bodyguard because she's convinced someone's trying to kill her. And Hastings, his Guy Friday, his Watson, is like, oh, I think she's crazy. And Hercule Poirot's like, don't be so sure. And he picks up her hat that like fell off her head, even though there's no breeze, that there's a bullet hole in it. And you're like, oh, someone took a shot at her. But there's absolutely no payoff for that. And it doesn't make sense because it turns out she was making it look like someone was trying to kill her as an excuse to kill her cousin, who was doing a stand-in for her because the cousin was the real victim. It gets very complicated. And then you just realize, like, wait a minute.
What about that bullet?
Who shot her at the beginning? It's like, so like even the greats do it. Well, I want to touch on Agatha Christie one more time because obviously she's the queen of this.
And the heavy inspiration.
Oh, and very heavy inspiration. So when Agatha Christie made a stand-in for herself, very, very self-effacing and like very self-effacing. I wish I could remember the name of the woman, but Hercule Poirot works with her sometimes. She's a woman who writes mystery novels, and she's always missing like the real clues and not figuring things out for real.
That's funny.
But like Poirot, Poirot's just such a gentleman, and she always is like flabbergasted or like exasperated, and that's Christie's stand-in for her because she's always saying like people are always asking why I don't actually help Scotland Yard solve crimes and things like that.
Because she couldn't.
Yeah, exactly. But Johnson, he just doesn't have the courage to be so self-effacing. So whenever he puts himself in as a self-insert in any of his movies, you know that person's going to survive and come out smelling like roses and stuff. So that's immediately why I was able to take Judd off the table.
Yeah, I never for a moment thought Judd was it.
No.
But because also I think
I knew he was hiding something, but then it was a bit of a thud. Because I was really thinking like, oh, he knows who the murderer is and he wants to try to like save their soul before they come in. But no.
I think Rian Johnson, if Judd had been the killer, there would have been comparisons drawn to Primal Fear with Ed Norton and Richard Gere, and I don't think Rian Johnson wants that. Because it's like, it'd be very similar, like almost in structure to Primal Fear, only, Primal Fear obviously much darker. This one's at least a little more lighthearted. We didn't talk about the Fabergé heart. Of what was it? The Fabergé apple.
Oh, Eve's apple.
Eve's apple, yeah. From Fabergé.
Yeah, just a MacGuffin.
It's just a MacGuffin. But you know what I really hated? Like the last scene of the movie where he's like, oh, it's like the real wealth is in Christ or something like that. And then they show like the new wooden crucifix that he built. And I was like, please don't zoom in on the chest. And then they slow zoom in on the chest and the gem sparkles. This guy literally just said he was going to tear your church apart looking for it. And it's visibly sparkling from like absolutely not. Like,
yeah, that's pretty cheeky. Like he really should have just dropped it down a well or something.
He should have dropped it down a well. Yeah, no, but it's just, overall, like I said, it felt a lot more honest and earnest in an actual attempt to try and do the story. For my taste, not really my favorite thing. Like I've said multiple times, man, just Monk and Psych could do this in 40 minutes with more memorable characters.
Exactly. So I guess then we'll give our final thoughts here. I do like it. It's an improvement.
It is an improvement.
There's more stuff to be done with this Benoit Blanc character, I think, just because I just enjoy watching
Replace him as a Muppet?
Yeah, right. I just enjoy Daniel Craig in this role. I just think Rian Johnson just needs to kind of understand, like, you're really good at, like, putting the movie together. Like it looks so good. But, like, dude, you're not as smart as you think you are. You don't need to be making cultural commentaries on anything. Just make a really good, enjoyable, cozy mystery. The corollary to this that I mentioned at the beginning of the show is the Thursday Murder Club.
I haven't seen that yet.
Which is a very nice, cozy mystery that really does a good job staying in its lane, and has no pretensions of making commentary or anything like that. That's the thing. So when Johnson was talking about how important like Christianity was to him as a teenager, and now that he's an atheist, it's like, okay, not a lot of that's on the screen because you're not very good at articulating your beliefs. If this was just the normal pablum that we usually get from Hollywood, taking little digs at the right. I mean, look, we've been living with that our whole lives. That's fine. But like, don't try to sit there and tell me that this is the great commentary, or this is really wise, or this is actually secretly really deep, because ultimately it's not, and we keep having this elevation of mediocrity, and like this idea that Rian Johnson is one of the great directors of our time is like, it is just not true. I would say Bam Bam Bamford is a better director of him. We got to do a Decadent.
Some of his movies are pretty good, though.
Yeah.
Because you, and I think this is why people would
But
argue.
they're more earnest, and I think that's the thing. If Rian Johnson keeps moving in this more earnest direction, I think he'll get dialed in, and I think he actually will make a truly great Knives Out movie, because he's moving in the right direction. So I have hope for him. I don't think he's a lost cause like J.J. Abrams.
I don't think he's a lost cause either, especially because I'm always thinking, because I'm pretty sure Rian Johnson did Brick.
He did do Brick.
And so
he did do Looper.
Yeah.
Like
Looper's okay.
He
I
can
like Looper.
do it. Let us not talk about his foray into Star Wars. We'll make no one happy.
You know what? Hot take. I actually don't mind The Last Jedi as much as everyone else, because I don't like Star Wars that much in general.
I always piss everyone off when I say it's the best of the new trilogy,
I think
but it's
is.
still garbage.
It is. It is the best of the new trilogy, but it is still, at least it tried to do something new, and I don't really like Star Wars that much. So, with the exception of like Andor. And
I say this every time Star Wars comes up. The
But
point in my life where Star Wars can make deposits of joy in my life is over. Now it can only make withdrawals.
Withdrawals, yeah.
So now every time I see something Star Wars, I just like it a little less, less.
This was the closest I felt to like the same tone as Brick. So what he needs to do is, I agree, he needs to just get someone else to write for him.
Or at least get a partner, like bounce some ideas off of. Because like I said, the actual construction and the mystery, not terrible.
No, not this time.
Yeah.
Not this time. And to be honest, it does kind of unfold the way you expect it to, and the way it sort of promises you it will. I just think at 2.5 hours, too much bouncing back to Judd, who I was like, we've already been down this road before. So I feel like if you're going to go back to your suspect the second time, they better be guilty. Like in Law and Order, like the first guy they interview, and they're like, it's not him. And then they do something, they're like, oh, it is him. And they go back to him.
Yeah, wait a minute. Why was he in that neighborhood when he
he's
lives
like, oh,
7 towns over?
Yeah, new information, stuff like that. So
yeah,
he
went to high school with the victim under a different name, It's like, exactly.
2.5 hours is too long a stretch. There are passages of time in this, I think, just start adding a little more plot holes to it. I don't hate it as much as Glass Onion. I'm just really disappointed because there were moments where I was like, oh, this is pretty good. And again, like you said, it looked nice, which is why, as I've said several times, I would have just kept it all contained in that church. You could have done a tight 90 minutes in that church, people talking to each other, watching people fight, watching people yell at each other, as opposed to exposition through the note at the beginning, which every time you start a movie with like exposition, like that level of like, I am telling you everything you need to know at the beginning, like, they did with weapons. I hate that stuff. Like, because if you're going to give me an unreliable narrative, they better be damn unreliable.
Yeah, I know. I just thought like the reveal was like he was still trying to cover for the Monsignor's drinking even after all this other information came out about him.
Yeah.
Oh, no. You know what? I had a lot of issues with this idea that Glenn Close never confessed to him about knowing where the heart of Eve is. It's like, really?
Yeah.
Like, that just seemed very incongruent.
Eve's apple?
Eve's apple, yeah. Like
I keep on the heart of the ocean.
Yeah. No, but that's the thing.
You remember when she threw it off the end of the church into the...
No, but that just seems so incongruent with the rest of her character. It's like, I feel like she would have relished being able to tell him, like, oh, don't worry, it's safe forever. You know what I mean? And seemingly there would have been a point in Brolin's career where he would have liked to have known that, and he would have kept it safe.
Yeah, why would she keep it a secret for so long?
Yeah, something about Brolin changed that we don't know.
You know what? Here's the thing too, which you mentioned earlier, because it would have been kind of cheeky, and then also I think it could have explained away some of this, right? What if they had just made it so like Glenn Close wasn't such a child? What if she had been like 14 or 15-year-old girl who was then got impregnated by Brolin's, father before, and she was the mom. And what if that was the secret she told him? Do you even need Brolin's mom character in this film at all?
No, that's just a device for looking for the fortune, and the priest needed an excuse to hide the fortune. Also, I thought it was very interesting that Jeff Bridges is a Monsignor. So
Brolin.
Was it what I say?
Bridges.
God, he looks like Jeff Bridges in this, though, doesn't he?
He kind of does.
So Josh Brolin is a Monsignor, and a Monsignor, it's kind of like getting a like, so like in the Army you have like the Bronze Star, but then you also have the Bronze Star with the Valor distinction, and some people say that the Bronze Star with a Valor distinction is better than a Silver Star without a Valor distinction.
Okay.
So for priests, Monsignor is kind of like the Valor distinction. It's basically.
Do you think he is actually a?
Yes.
Does anyone else call him Monsignor, or does he call himself Monsignor?
No, you can't just call yourself Monsignor. Here's why: because you have to be like chosen by the Pope to be a Monsignor, and basically your bishop.
He was chosen because of wealth.
Yeah, exactly.
Status,
so like they made him a Monsignor for some reason. Usually it's because of good acts for the church, but you're still just a priest.
Yeah.
So I was waiting for that.
That's because he was an assassin in Mexico.
Yeah, right. Vaya con Dios.
Dios.
Yeah, but there was some interest. There could have been some more interesting stuff. And that's the thing, too. It's like, this is a good time to be making commentary about the religious revival in America. You have like Gen Z going to church at bigger numbers than any generation
that's weird
before.
To me.
You know what I mean? Like, I think people are looking for something,
some kind of personal
real,
connection,
authentic, that's time tested, been around for a while. Everything is so ephemeral and of this world, and I think people are looking for a deeper spiritual connection.
No, man, I'm punk. No,
yeah,
I wear a Dolphins hat.
Well, now the punk thing is to go to church. Like, that's the counterculture now,
to an extent.
Yeah,
I think it is probably a pushback against the online.
Yeah,
culture.
but that's my point, though. Is like he's making like 1992 commentary here. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, been there, done that, man. But, so like, yeah, if you want to do commentary, have at it. There's some excellent commentary out there. Just didn't get it. I got to get off the commentary train here. But yeah, so
it's okay though, because as we both said, it's one of those things that detracts from a movie that doesn't need it. And and at a 2.5 hour runtime, we're starting to think about, because we're trying, like, you like it more than I do. And when I talk about these things, I'm trying to pare it down to the movie I like, because I don't objectively, I don't hate it.
Yeah.
It's just, there are moments that I'm like, oh, this is good. And then it's like, oh, what the heck? Why is this happening? Like Mila Kunis' character. I thought she was going to be a much bigger deal. It's like you have an excellent cast, and not everybody gets a scene to shine, like not even like one scene per character where they really get to go over the top and like show their stuff. Like, I don't know. Like I said, I would have bottled it in the church. Man.
Yeah, another thing too is like the timelines get a little messy with how much passage of time, because like in like 3 minutes he goes, well, you've been here for 9 weeks. I'm like, well, that's pretty arbitrary. You know what I mean? So like if you're trying to keep a lot of the clues and stuff placed into your head, and it moves so fast, it funnels you down to like, okay, Glenn Close is, if not the mastermind, the principal player.
Yeah.
And then she was, and because that's the only conclusion you can draw. Yeah. But I guess, so here's the thing. So like Rian Johnson is always known for like shifting expectations and things like that. So maybe playing this one right down the plate was the swerve. By playing it straight, he swerved the audience who was all expecting a big swerve, and then it turns out, I was like, oh no, it's actually the most logical conclusions based on things that have set up.
Which is, like we said, more earnest in the attempts.
Exactly.
Because like in Glass Onion, when he gives the swerve, you're like, oh, shut up.
It shows more confidence in his
writing.
In his writing.
Yeah.
And
bring in a second set of eyes.
Yeah, the more sincere, like that's such a problem with films nowadays. So many seem so insincere, like Superman, like, not to get off on another tangent.
I hated that movie.
Oh, it was so insincere, because there's nothing worse you could be in these mediocrities' eyes than earnest. Because if you're an earnest mediocrity,
it means you're trying.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, oh, well, I was even. It's like, well, the reason my movies are bad is because I don't really care.
Yeah.
Well, like, okay, it's kind of like Todd Phillips with Joker Fuleb Did to,
yes, Foie Gras Do.
I know, which I just had to talk about on a hit show, Reels of Justice. Check it out now. But my point being on that front,
it's pretty good. You should check out the Weapons one. There's a very handsome guest star. Not that you can tell, it's an audio podcast.
To be fair, on the Reels of Justice, we're constantly pointing out how handsome we are. Don't worry.
No, that's true. They
do. we got bits. But my point being, about that is, I do believe Todd Phillips in Joker Fall I Do was like, I can't touch Joker 1. I don't want to touch Joker.
I think he hated the way people reacted to it.
And he hated the way people reacted to it, and so he just wanted to vent his spleen and make $20 million in the process.
Which, like we said at the beginning, I feel that Rian Johnson took a lot of the criticisms from Glass Onion and took them seriously.
And that's why I like this one better, because So Phillips
Dylan,
and
you're
Johnson.
kind of changing my opinion on it a little bit. I might give it 1 thumb up.
No, because that's the thing. So like Phillips and Johnson found themselves in the same position where everyone's talking about how brilliant Knives Out is, and it's not brilliant. Everyone's talking about how brilliant Joker is. It's not brilliant, And so now they had the pressure on him.
Joker's still really surprised.
So Phillips, instead, he crumbled under the pressure, and Johnson, to his credit, tried to rise up to it.
Yeah.
And he had a much better output. And I really think if he doesn't lose hope, I guess, like he could. Yeah, I think he could make. I think he's got something here, and I think the potential's there. I would get if I were him. I'd get a writing partner.
Yep, tighten it up.
I would bring in someone who knows the genre a bit more. I wouldn't be so worried about contemporary commentaries if you want to sprinkle a few things in here and there, but don't do it in a way that like pulls you out of the movie. No. It's like you said, the guy just literally making the list. I did the trans thing, I did the gay thing, I did the
I did
tax
this thing, I did this thing,
and I'm like,
this thing.
Well, you're gonna say anything about that? Because in Johnson's mind, everyone already agrees with him. So all those things he says are axiomatically bad.
Right.
He's not interested in making an argument. But you can't call it a commentary if you're not going to make an argument either, So it's like, dude, so back off that. If you want to put in a little bit of that stuff, go ahead. It's Hollywood. No one's going to stop you. But, if he focuses on the characters, focuses on the mystery, he's got something good here. So I feel comfortable. I know we don't do like ratings or numerical ratings or something.
That's fine. Go ahead. It doesn't matter. There are no rules here.
I know, but
we get together. As we've said many times, this is what we'd be doing even if we weren't recording.
It's so true. And so I would say this is like a solid 3 out of 5. I would say it gets up to like a 6.5 or maybe 7. And frankly, I want people making more movies, more cozy mystery movies like that. Like it's such a nice break from a lot of the other crap that we're getting out there. It's like, but just remember why people are like these movies and why they're coming here is because we want a chance to figure out the mystery. Yeah,
we want to be like from the point of view of the detective, not from the point of view of the audience. Like we want to see these pieces coming in. And I understand a fair amount. You're going to have to hold back like the linchpin. Yeah, exactly. Everybody's waiting on the big reveal third act linchpin, and that is fine, right?
Because that's like the books.
Yes, exactly. And but like I said, my issue with it is it's bloated runtime, right? The fact that a lot of the characters are just one-dimensional. I'm not a big fan of how the movie actually ends, dying declaration style.
That's a staple of the genre, though.
I know it is, but it's just like, it's not my favorite. It's like
I can respect that because
Glenn Close did a fine job with it.
But you know what I like though is it's so often when you're reading an Agatha Christie book though, you do wonder. It's like, okay, murderer. All you had to do was not admit everything after Hercule Poirot said all that.
Yeah.
So Hercule Poirot does his big speech and then like, all right, you got me. He's like, no, he didn't. Like, yes, he did figure it all out, but there's no evidence. You don't have to admit to it. But Glenn Close being a Catholic and wanting absolution.
Hold on, though.
That actually works.
But what's the one thing God won't forgive?
Oh, suicide.
And what does she do?
She kills herself. But here's the thing, though. I think in the Catholic, she did get the last rites, so that might absolve her. I don't know.
Yeah, right. Because I was like.
But you're right, though. That's a bit much.
It is.
For her
it is a bit much
to kill herself.
She should have just accepted her punishment in stride.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. It's just dying declarations and stuff like that sometimes put a stick in my craw because it's like, well, now you've obfuscated the ending, so it's like, well, what do you do now?
I do think it works a little better.
I think it was
in this.
Like
then,
I said,
Death of the Nile. Right, like the woman just shoots her boyfriend, then shoots herself for like no reason. It's like, really? That's how you're getting out of this?
I kind of like that because it's messy, but it's true to life. But it's just when you're spending so much time trying to establish, like Glenn Close says, kind of being the religious one. It can't all be farcical and peeled back. Some of it has to. You have to have some through line running through. And I guess you kind of changed my mind a little bit about the resurrection thing being her big gambit to bring, a little bit back to the church. It's just, I see it and I'm just like, like, why did they have to kill Thomas Hayden Church in the Woods? I mean, Jeremy Renner, why is he panicking? Nobody even is looking at him. Mm-hmm. I mean, we, the audience, know oh, well, this is kind of one of your big stars. He's probably the bad guy. Even but without looking at, just looking at the list of names, you can probably figure out who done it.
Well, it's so funny. The old cliche, the butler did it. More often than not, it is the doctor.
It's the doctor.
In these kind of books. Like there is a doctor.
Because they can manipulate things, but he didn't even do the autopsy. So if he had done the autopsy, you could say, oh, that's why it didn't come up. But it's not him.
Yeah, that's
not
kind
him
of
at
bugged
all.
me. It's like, okay, he was obvious, so it was poisoned. Is the only way this works? I don't know.
Yeah, to not even consider poison until later on is just such a, it's like, come on, man. You do like when somebody dies mysteriously, you do like, what is it, that blood gastronomy or whatever it is. But what, like you said, you got to make some concessions so the movie can happen.
Yeah, exactly.
And if I've beat this
And
dead horse
frankly,
enough,
if
man,
they-
just keep it in the church. Just keep it locked in the church. You don't have to worry about these things.
And or the other solution is do a better job of establishing how tight the timeline is between the murder and the solve, because it's like, hey, we're going to put a rush.
2 days.
Yeah, we're going to put a rush on this toxicology report, but we're going into Easter Sunday and things like that, so it's going to take a while.
And plus now it puts pressure on who actually is the killer. Like, I got to get this squared before those results come in.
Yes, exactly.
So now you have a ticking clock involved as well.
Exactly.
More tension. And
Because
you
like
can
they're
forgive
not,
characters making mistakes.
I feel like
under
they're not
tension.
abundantly clear how long he's in the tomb before he busts out. Like I felt like, was he in there for like 2 days?
He must have been, right? Well, he was in there for 2-3 days. Maybe?
Yeah, I just wish they were a smidge clearer.
Oh no! If he went in, did they say he went in on Good Friday and came out on Easter?
Yeah, I mean, like, was he in there for the whole 3 days? Like, I don't know. Like, I would have been interested. Yeah, but that was the thing. Like, I thought, like, some of the time jumps were a bit messy. I wish that was a bit tighter. Yeah.
And then I would have to rewatch it because I don't remember exactly when Thomas Hayden Church ends up in the the coffin, because it seems like everybody was looking at Josh Brolin, and then she's like, "May I say goodbye?" And it feels like that time cut is everybody's there. So when did they swap the body out? Because it wasn't closed yet.
Yeah, and how did they get Josh Brolin? Like, where were they keeping Josh Brolin's body?
Under the table.
Yeah,
remember? They show it. They show them do the pan up. So when did they swap the body? Everybody was there watching.
Well,
right?
they showed Jeremy Renner like closing.
Well, because
the
everybody's
coffin
outside the door, though. I think looking in.
Yeah.
If I recall, I don't remember correctly. Anyway.
And that's the other thing too. Actually, another thing I want to be a little charitable for this movie is I did only see it the one time to do this show.
Same. I usually watch these things twice.
Yeah, I would like to watch it again because, like I know you still don't like Glass Onion. I didn't like Glass Onion the first time I saw
like it,
but I did like it more on subsequent
That's
viewings.
fair.
And I have a feeling like this one, I'm gonna like a little more watching it again.
I think I will like the ideas and some of the things that you've brought up, and I will pay closer attention to those. Obviously, if I watch it a second time, but I am still going to have the same construction issues. I'm still not going to like characters being introduced through exposition only at the beginning. I'm not going to like.
One of the problems is
2.5
too is like
hours.
everything we've talked about. I mean, it sounds like we're talking about like a tight 90-minute movie.
Right.
It's 2 hours and 46 minutes long.
It's too long, man.
So like that's the thing I'm gonna watch. Is like, what on earth did they do for that extra hour?
Like, how about this scene where he gets the call and he's talking to the woman, right? Where he's talking to the woman trying to figure out when they ordered the equipment to remove the Lazarus door, and they do a time jump from the morning to night.
Yeah, it's like talking to her that long.
That long?
Yeah.
Benoit's like, oh, I guess you know what? Solving mysteries isn't really a race against time or anything like that. Like, it's just like, why would he just sit there? And it was because, Benoit wanted the priest to give him more information and whatnot. But it's like, and then he talks about like road to Damascus and stuff like that. And it's like, I had this, it doesn't matter. But it's just too long and there's too many places to cut. And
I don't think Rian Johnson quite understands what the road to Damascus conversion actually means. Like
for Benoit Blanc, it was just
priest
like
isn't
quiet.
actually the priest isn't going to have it. The whole point was that Paul was a persecutor of Jesus, and on his way to Damascus, Jesus visited him, and he said, like, "Why did you do that to me?" And then Paul became one of the like post hoc disciples. What is it called? They have the
apostle?
Apostolic apostles who actually knew Jesus and wrote about it. And then you have like Paul and Luke who wrote after, like, so that's what like Acts is about and stuff like that,
Fascinating.
So Paul didn't actually know, like he actually was very much against Jesus until after the resurrection and ascension. Then Jesus visits Paul on the road to Damascus. So the road to Damascus, when people say that, that's when you have like a big aha conversion moment, so like a priest wouldn't necessarily
have that.
Now Benoit Blanc saying he had it just as a way to buy Glenn Close time, I'm fine with that. Like that's pretty funny.
Yeah, I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's just dying declarations are not my favorite way to wrap things up. The suicide for somebody who was so religious, I felt like, well, maybe maybe like if he had been giving her the last rites and she had stopped him, right? You know, like I don't deserve them. And he's like, but you're going to get them anyway. Or just like a little something there. You know, I don't know. It's just, if I watch it again, like I say, I'm still going to have the same problems with construction, but I do think some of the points you've made today have changed my mind on a little bit of it.
Yeah, and like I said, like that, I'm excited that Rian Johnson seems to be taking this more seriously.
So, like I was saying,
that's
like,
what I'm
I went into
excited
this
about.
expecting glass onion. So,
Yes,
like
me
I
too.
said, I was pleasantly surprised.
I was thinking he was going to be trying to be too cute and cheeky, and like you said, there was a level of sincerity here that's very refreshing.
Yeah, there was. So, I'll be a little more excited to see his next one now, simply because I like this one. But if I see 2.5 hour runtime again, Rian Johnson, I'm coming for you.
Yeah, I know. Well, Derek, we've reached the point of Decadent now where we tell everyone what we're smoking.
Ah, yes, I have an unmarked cigar. So it's either some kind of Connecticut Fuma or an, what is it? Alec Bradley Prensado Fuma. I'm not entirely sure. Dad did humidor maintenance and shuffled them all around, so could be anything.
How is it, though?
It's fantastic, whatever it is.
I was going to say, it's been burning really.
Yeah, I mean, considering
really
it's kind of like, it's a little colder and a little damp out today, I haven't had as
Finally a little damp. It's been dry as a bone here in New England.
And I'm having, what is it? It is Harpoon Winter Warmer. I'm not sure if they made it into frame because I adjusted it.
So good.
But I did buy Godzilla branded beers from PBR.
PBR did Godzilla branded beer. Where's Manny Banks?
That's what
You're gonna come out,
Banks. Get out of here, you crazy son of a bitch. No, he's not here. But yeah, so yeah, I'm having a really good time. We got the fire table going. I know it's not really in frame, but
nice.
This is how I like to spend. This is how I'd be spending my day off anyway. You know, so thank you for coming over. Dylan, what are you enjoying?
So what I have here, I'm sure people have been noticing, this is a huge pipe.
It is. Looks almost like an upside down mushroom.
Well, what this is a volcano, and then you have the plateau here where it's nice and craggy. And what this is, if you can see, you have carved sea turtles going around this. And this I got at the Las Vegas Pipe Show 2025, which was back in October, which is hosted by a good friend of the show, Brian Levine. Again, you may have found this channel after he very generously plugged us on his Pipes Magazine radio show. So I go to Vegas.
Actually, some people left the channel.
So he'll love that joke. So I go to Vegas every year for the pipe show. And I also make the same bet every year. I put money on 8 and I win every year. And I happen to win a lot of money betting on 8. And I saw this table of beautiful, beautiful pipes. And the man who did this is Murph Sculpted Pipes. And I fell in love with this one because volcano is my favorite shape. I love sea turtles. And when I looked at the price, it was just within my winnings. Exactly. So I said, okay, that's a sign from God. So I went up to Murph and I'm like, I love all your pipes. I really, really want to get this one. Let's make a deal. He made a deal. He was very generous with his time explaining it and everything. And as I was smoking this during the show, a few people were coming by saying, you bought that pipe? Like, because he's apparently had it since 2017. Oh, really? And it's been at a lot of the shows. And so I had 3 people say, oh, I'm so happy someone finally bought that pipe. And I was talking to one guy who had collected like 13 Murph pipes. And he goes, I would have bought that. Like, he's like I always plan on buying that one day. I'm very happy someone got it. So been smoking that. It's a
sounds like a cool community.
Oh, the pipe community is the best. They really are. They're good people, and they're very interesting people. You have wonderful conversations.
Way better than those Slender 5 hacks.
Absolutely.
Way better.
And then what I'm smoking in it is a change of pace for me because normally I like smoking English blends, but today I am smoking a Christmas blend from Cornell and Deal called Golden Days of Yore, which I had cellared since 2020. Completely by accident, because I bought so much tobacco.
I remember.
Yeah, people ask me like, oh, do you cellar tobacco? It's like, well, not on purpose. I just buy too much. I can't smoke it fast enough. So I've had this sitting since 2020. It's a nice, sweet Virginia blend, very smooth.
Sweet Virginia.
Yeah, not my favorite blend to smoke, but I figured since this is around Christmas time, pull it out of the cellar, give it a shot in the new Murph pipe. And overall, very happy. And then, of course, I am just drinking the cup of nice Columbia coffee here that Mom and Dad grind fresh every day. It's always so good.
We don't have a coffee grinder, so it's a terrible strain on their wrists. Well, Dylan, thanks so much for coming over and spending time with me on not the worst weather day, actually.
Frankly, yeah, we actually lucked out. No,
Not
that
bad.
was great. Always
Not bad.
happy to be here. Always happy to talk about more murder mysteries and everything. And I'm sure people are eagerly awaiting our Bluey Part 2 episode.
God.
We'll wait for the movie. We'll wait for the movie.
We'll wait for the movie. We'll wait for the movie. I don't even, I only have like 300 episodes of Bluey left, so 60 minutes. So,
Yeah, right.
yeah.
2 hours later. Woo, that was a lot of Bluey.
I'm sure we'll probably reconvene at some point. Fallout Season 2 is coming out. And I'm looking forward to laying into that a little bit. I doubt they learned any lessons, unlike Rian Johnson.
Yeah, no, I guess that's really putting a button on it. Is like I think this is a really good step in the right direction for Rian Johnson. So good for him.
I agree.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, what did everybody else think? Have you seen Wake Up Dead Man?
Wake Up Dead Man.
Did it inspire you to think Rian Johnson's moving in the right direction? Did anything we say really get to you, positive or negative? Let us know in the comments.
Comment, subscribe, ring that notification bell, and we will see you.
Shout out to Chris Sabicki.
Chris Sabicki, man.
Sorry we had to
all the
bump
way
Chris
to the
Sabicki
end.
today. We don't have time for him. Till next time.
Cheers.